Hello and welcome to Rise Above the Grind. I am your hostess, the Consultress, Alissa, bringing you conversations with amazing people in today's age of disruption. Hustle and grind culture, ladies and gentlemen, is not sustainable in the way that we have thought about it in the past. So I'm bringing you thought leaders to help us redefine what it is we're up to and kind of think about our current life and our current iterations with innovation as well as alignment and integrity. So it is my privilege and pleasure to introduce you all today to Joanna Horton McPherson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you, Alyssa.
Amen, lady. Listen, that zing when you feel the connection and you feel the vibe, that is the stuff of which relationships are made, and the thing that makes value kind of a no-brainer out here in the marketplace. So I want to know from you first. We all want to know, what does the grind mean to you? Because so many people take it in so many different ways. What does this word mean to you, and how does it show up in your universe?
I thought about this question because I saw the homework that what we're going to talk about, and I'm having something different come up, so I'm just going to follow my gut here.
Follow the nudge.
I think we'll get back to my original thought about the grind, but first, it's this idea that doing business has to be a grind because I accept the premise that there's some amount of grinding when you're following your purpose and making headway, climbing that mountain. I really think it's how we relate to the work that changes it. Because the grind for me, what we would call the grind is like, okay, that's like the part where I'm having these headaches and lack of progress, or it's like hard to, hard.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
my work around working with people is a lot about relating to the self and how we talk to ourselves about what we do. So I'm going to go down and dive into this tunnel. The grind for me is what I'm doing to show up.
Cool. So what I've heard so far, and tell me if I'm on point, off point, or maybe took a detour somewhere, is it's what I heard is like how we relate to it. So like the out there definition of like grind to success, this assumption that it has to be hard, may or may not be true for you, depending on how you're approaching your work. And so for me, that sounds like I would use a different term, like instead of grinding because I'm in passion and I'm on purpose, I would feel it more like the term flow, where like I'm engaged, I'm on, and I'm doing what it takes in that moment, which I do know some people take as quote unquote grinding. You know, my son is it working on his favorite video game and has to grind this aspect to get to his next level. Oh, there goes my fireworks. Um, but he's grinding because he sees a goal in mind and he's willing to do what it takes. So is that kind of where you're going with this? Is depending on where you are in relation to either the task at hand or the purpose at large?
Yes. Okay. So before we rolled, I said something about we really ought to, like all of us, everyone, what we're here to do in our work in our world. Some of us are following our purpose, some of us are following something else. We ought to go bigger, every single one of us. I really don't think people think big enough. I mean, that's just a fact. You look at what's possible. I believe this is a limitless universe, and our biggest challenge is to challenge our limiting our beliefs and our limiting beliefs because we come in with this. I was just talking with my husband this morning about this. We're taught to study templates of how people do things. A lot of this in the business world, you cannot get enough. It's shoved down your throat. It's when you open social media, it's every business book. It's like study what other people are doing. Great. And I have, by the way, I'm a huge believer in education. But what we forget is that people are always obeying the limits of what they believed was possible when they designed this thing.
Ooh, we're buying their limits. Nudge.
Yeah. And
Type
we're actually studying them worse. We're like accepting the premise of like, this is the box that is here. And we're like, okay, cool box. But we forget that there's so many ways we can leapfrog progress. We can reframe a problem, have a different conversation ourselves. This does get back to my original point. I wrote down when I was talking about the grind, in neurolinguistic programming, and I know a lot of us have this idea of like, okay, words are things, words do cast spells in the world. When we talk about things like a grind, we are putting our perception on something that's going to be hard when actually it's just an opportunity to grow. And by putting words on a concept, It creates what's called object fixation, and you're looking at something that will then have the result that you believe it will have, like it's going to be hard, the grind. So, what does that mean? The opportunity for growth is to always be looking at what am I saying is true and possible in the situation? How can I challenge myself to think about the vision and why I'm doing this and meet the same exact set of tasks? I'm going to give an example. This is really theoretical. The same exact set of tasks inside of a different vision of possibility. I think, for example, the best example is coming to mind is schedule, like how I manage my time. From literally when I step out of my bed in the morning, am I reaching for my phone? Am I reaching for a glass of water? Am I going to sit down and like rest in my open mind? I'm a big believer in meditation. There's a lot of research that says meditating does one thing in the human brain differently, which is to bring more of it online.
Mhm.
And that's not a bad thing because we're run so much by our unconscious processes, those beliefs, like what we never like gave permission to onboard way back when we we're little. That's most of the work of the business owner and frankly adults in general is to unlearn so much of the model of the world we came up in. I mean, to me, that's the grind. That is it.
Oh, I have like so many notes over here. Like unlearn, unlearn. That was my son. Hi. Unlearn what the assumptions were that we were brought into this world with, our upbringing, our early schooling, and also looking at those templates that we've studied, whether that's because in the grand pursuit of business or in personal development or in expanding ourselves in some spiritual or logistical way. We always have to be conscious. I think the opportunity here, when we feel the grind and we come up against something that feels a little sticky, or maybe it doesn't feel like we're in flow, or it feels like we're rattling ourselves inside of a cage and going nowhere. That's the opportunity. And that's what I've heard through what you're saying is it's the opportunity to ask, what assumptions am I making right now that are not part of my
Yeah.
decision-making process, but are absolutely part of the full picture? So asking the questions
Mhm.
around what am I not seeing versus what am I seeing, looking for those definitions, because that's the stuff of process. That's the stuff of logistics, is what do I see? What is present? How do we codify? And that's always necessary in our business, in our growth, is codifying what works. But the unconscious stuff and the ability to take a higher level view, a 30,000 foot view, is what am I not seeing that's impacting this right now? Why does this feel like it is rife with resistance, or I don't feel like I'm in flow? I am actually grinding, because that is like, oh, reflection is awareness. I'm opening my mind, like you said, to allow
Yeah.
more of my thoughts to come online. So how does this show up for you? How has this shown up either in your past or in your work?
Well, something you just said about the grind is I got this visual of when you're spinning your tires and you're making a rut, but you're doing it because you want to make progress, pressing the gas because we're trying to get out, but sometimes it actually creates more of the problem. This is the object fixation. The
Mm.
problem with object fixation, we will look at something like a grind. We're always trying to solve the problem with the same thinking that got us into it. So and it will answer how it shows up for me. I'll just say this. I said it earlier. It's how I show up. I know that sounds really theoretical, but as you can tell, I'm a thinker. I'm a writer. I do a lot of leadership around how we create conversations in the world that really will shift things for us individually. It all starts in here. Everything, the entire world, quantum physics, it's all about your perspective. So it's like if you don't like the perspective you have, change your perspective. Look at something different from a different lens. So I wanted to just say it's ask for me. I understand problem solving from a Buddhist perspective. There's this teacher, Pema Chodron. She's a famous nun. She says, we don't really, ultimately, this is true for business owners, solve our problems. We usually overcome them by just getting over problems, by having something else that helps us transcend it. So I often think of this visual. I'm going to see if I can recreate it really quick. This is the problem. A big, I'm going to try to do this. A big boulder in the way of the road. It's like, okay, I'm trying to get here and this is the problem. And then the same problem exists here, same boulder, but we become able to step over it by thinking differently. It's the same problem, but your thinking is like, Well, I'm going to ask a different question. So often, like if you're looking at a puzzle, you can't find this where this piece goes in the puzzle by looking at the piece. You've got to look at the bigger picture and ask a different question, like what other colors are here, or put your focus on something outside of that rock, and your shift in perspective truly expands. This is universe expansion. So when I say we got to go bigger, the effort that I'm always doing is how I can expand myself. Usually it's through vulnerability and being willing to open and willing to share my thoughts when it feels risky and when I want to overcome something. I have learned the hard way. It's up to me. Like
I
it's up
just
to
want to
me.
like hiss you right now because when I feel myself stuck, I need to open and be vulnerable and look at it from a new perspective. What, like, again, asking those questions about, how else can I think about this? Because what comes to mind is that puzzle, playing like the word association game that I play on my phone when I'm trying to de-stress. If
Yeah.
I'm too busy in here, nothing seems to make sense. I'm like trying to look at words and put them together. But when I'm open and I'm just like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. And then they all fit. It's just like seeing, I almost like focus out. Like I'm not looking at each word, thinking about each word. I'm focused out and I'm like, oh, this occurs to me. Oh, that could be this meaning. And all of a sudden it flows. So that, for those of you that play online puzzle games on your phone, like this is it's a direct correlation. This is exactly the experience you have when you're like on fire and solving things because it just feels effortless. That's the state that you're in that open vulnerability. And that space where we go to where we have to be right, our existing paradigm needs to be pigeonholed into knowing that this is the solution or that this is the way to think it. Can you just even hear the difference in my voice? It is the struggle incarnate. So noticing when you're in it and noticing that there's an ability to open up, be more vulnerable, be willing to not have the right answer or not be right already, but the opportunity to learn something, then flow kind of comes back automatically, no?
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I do. I want to take this into a concrete example because I know I'm spotlighted for this moment, and I want to give something valuable to us in this conversation from what I do specifically, which is people getting on stage and sharing their message. How does this relate to what we're talking about, even
Yes.
remotely? It's really hard for someone who has something they want to share as a speaker to take anyone on a journey, which is the job of the speaker, to take them on a journey you haven't been on yourself. So, whatever message we've discovered, so whatever value or knowledge or wisdom we feel others would benefit from, must be a lived experience in you first. And how you get to understanding where you've come is an arc. That's a process of self-discovery. This is all the work that I do with people. Like 90% of the work of speaking happens before you step on stage.
Yeah.
People forget this, okay? To become the kind of speaker who's just so comfortable and so expansive, and your energy system, your body can fill a stadium. How does someone get that comfortable and open in themselves? To me, it's one thing. It's being really clear and that your message is needed by this room. And this gets back to Alissa. I wrote down what you said about people first. And I want to end with this because it's all about love in the end. Like to me, everything we're doing this life, we're struggling, we're trying to achieve, ultimately achievement and satisfaction, fulfillment, comfort is about feeling part of something, feeling connected and loved. We forget that even the call to do something bigger like speak is about connecting with people in their hearts. But the power of a speaker is it's not but, and the power of the speaker is to know how to feel in your heart the message that wants to be shared with all of the human hearts in this audience. That is the magic of speaking. That is the magic of speaking, is to feel in your heart and to trust yourself enough that you can open and share and it's going to land. So with people, very technically, you must know your audience and know who you're for and who you're not for. A lot of people don't step on stage because they are like, so I'm going to be judged and be laughed off stage. Yeah, well, by the wrong audience, maybe. There are a lot of people who don't need what you have. So find the people who need you, know what their name, what the problem, what headache they have that you are the solution for, and you always focus your message on them. And then it's also just knowing the arc of how to tell your story. Vulnerability sharing is good, but it's not good in the context of to be seen versus to be an example of.
Yep.
And this vulnerability always wants to be your story, always wants to be told with what you discovered that they can act on. So,
Which is the entire purpose here. It's like we want to make sure that in your openness, in your being authentic, you're describing something where you have knowledge and wisdom. In our industrial society, most of our thinking, how we've been brought up, the unlearning we need to do of other people's limits that we've unconsciously taken on, is what I've learned is valuable. And there's lots more people who need this lesson that I learned the hard way.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Thank you for empowering people to be able to step into that comfortably and confidently. So if people are looking to connect with you, how can they find you?
I'm Googleable like everybody. I have a website. I have various tools there. And I have a course coming out this year. And my book next year is called Brave as Hell. And it's about the path of becoming the person who speaks the message, the big message you have, and how to do it, how to speak.
Oh, if you have been moved by this conversation, like I have been moved, and the studio audience live here with us has been moved, I'm watching the amens happen right here live. Please reach out to Joanna. She's a brilliant soul. And again, good people know good people. So if you're resonating with this message, please reach out to her. And in the meantime, if you're listening to this on the broadcast, stay tuned. We've got some amazing episodes lined up for you right after this. Don't go away.